Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 FM. AM 630. WMAL.
7:07 on WMAL. I got a text that says, can you explain that again about Obama? Did he say English when he meant British? Aren't they synonyms? Please explain. I'll be happy to make fun of him if I can.
I like that.
Right. Try to find out. Well, you know, British, UK. When you're talking about the UK, it's British. When you're talking about
the Embassy of Great Britain.
Right. And, you know,
Scotland, Ireland, England, all of them put together.
But they still are separate when it comes to playing soccer. For me,
right.
That's the key. I mean...
But I think what's important is that we are giving people new ways to make fun of Barack Obama.
Right.
And I'm proud of that.
I guess you are. Like I said before, all right, of all the things you want to go after, it's kind of low on the totem pole, but...
Yep. And I'll go.
Yeah.
It's like limbo up in here.
That's right. So you were gone for 2 weeks, and you missed a couple of debates. I don't know if they changed all that much, but it does seem to, and we talked about this earlier, that it is a two-person race between Newt Gingrich and Mitt Romney. Tony Blankley's on the phone, a syndicated columnist, and you used to work with Newt on a regular basis, Tony. Do you think it is down to a two-man race now between Newt and Mitt Romney?
I think so, yeah. I was his press secretary from 1990 to 1997, so I all through the years of fighting for the House and then taking it the first years of speakership. It does look like it's down to Romney and Newt in the primary process, and assuming that one of them gets a majority of delegates, that one will be the winner of the nomination. There's some small chance, I don't think there's much, that it would be indecisive and it would go to the convention, at which point it would open up again and anybody, Mitch Daniels, anybody could.
But I remember those days, Tony. I mean, I was up there on the Hill during those days. I recall very clearly, seeing you around the halls, hanging out with Newt, and you were there during those days. Did you ever imagine back then that Newt Gingrich would be seriously considered as a presidential candidate?
Well, if I'm under oath, I have to say, actually, yes.
Really? You did?
Now, I mean, as the years progressed, I understood that all the wounds you take in years of battle with, between Newt and Clinton and all the things that one does made it less likely. And I think I'm sort of pleasantly, slightly surprised at how well he's doing. But I thought when I started working with him after a couple of years that he had a vision of the future and it was unlimited potentially. So I'm one of the guys who thought he was potentially going to go to the top from the beginning.
You brought something up just a minute ago. I just do want to expand on it because you said you don't think it's going to happen. But let's talk about this because not a lot of people have talked about it to this point. It's winner take all in the primaries and the caucus for the first 4 states. After that, there are a lot of states. I believe all of the states in March, it's proportionate.
Until April 1st, it's proportionate. That's a new rule for the Republican Party this time.
Okay, so it is possible then, if it's so fractured, balkanized, whatever word you want to use, that we get to the convention and there's no clear winner, that how is it that somebody who's not even on the ballot right now is not going to be involved in any of the debates could wind up winning the nomination?
Well, what used to happen, I think the last time was 1948 for the Democrats, for the Republicans, in 1952 for the Republicans, 48 for the Democrats, I think. Nobody would have a majority, and after the first ballot, then the delegates are legally able to vote for anybody they want, and they may go for the leading person, or they may end up going for a dark horse, somebody who gets negotiated out, someone who gives a great speech at the convention and brings everybody along, a negotiated person. Anybody can come in after the first ballot. That's how we used to do it in both parties until television and the heavy advertising that tended to drive quick decisions. And that's the interesting thing about this time. Nobody has the money for really heavy traditional advertising. Even Romney, who's certainly got the most money, can he run a real traditional ad buying campaign in Florida? He's got 5 major media markets. Last time I looked, he had like $17 million total. You couldn't spend you could spend that in less than 2 weeks in Florida.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, this is a strange election. It's being run at sort of a national level based on debates more than party organization and advertising. Last time, Romney was advertising heavily in Iowa by June, and now he's just beginning to put a few out in virtually December. So it's a very, the old rules don't necessarily apply. They may, but I'm open to at least the plausibility that the public may keep this thing going longer than we think.
That's how James K. Polk got the Democratic nomination back in the day. Brokered convention, out of nowhere.
And he was our best one-term president.
He was a very underrated president from Columbia, Tennessee, by the way.
One purpose, he wanted to expand the country westward and take Texas and all the rest from Mexico. Got into the Mexican-American War, got the job done, and retired.
Yeah,
and then died pretty.
Kept all his campaign promises, and from Columbia, Tennessee, my husband's hometown.
How about that?
Yeah. Been there. What do you think of
Jimmy Polk's War? That was Pat Buchanan's title for his biography.
Yeah.
What do you think of Romney's sort of opening line of attack on Newt Gingrich, saying he's a career politician? He's been sort of light-handed with it thus far.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything terribly unfair about that. Newt has been in Congress since he was elected in 1978. He served until 1998. Since then, he's been in the private sector and sort of a public intellectual, and I think that's not an outrageous charge. And look, if someone's looking for someone who hasn't been in politics, they're not going to vote for Newt. I mean, that's pretty obvious. He's Speaker of the House, for goodness sake. On the other hand, Thomas Jefferson, Madison, Monroe were all career politicians too. It depends. We've tried a guy who doesn't have a clue about Washington in President Obama, and most people don't think he's been up to the job. Whatever you think ideologically, I know people on the left who don't think he's up to the job. So maybe with the problems getting worse, the country's going to look to somebody with some experience.
All right, we got about a minute left here, Tony. So I almost hate to ask the question because it's sort of hard to watch. You want to weigh in on Herman Cain's latest travails?
Yeah, look, every candidacy other than the winning one at some point ought to end. And usually there's a lag time between when it's de facto dead and when the candidate comes to accept that. And I think Cain is at that point, and he needs to, for his own sake and pride, get out of it as promptly as possible. But sometimes people hang on too long. Sometimes, like with Tim Pawlenty, they may not have hanged on long enough. But it's very hard for the individual to have a perfect perspective on when his time is up.
All right, Tony. Always great to have you on. Thanks very much. We appreciate it.
Wonderful. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Tony Blankley with us on with the Morning Majority. Boy, that brokered convention would be fun.
That'd be fun to watch.
I don't know.
You were wavering between F words there.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Yeah.
There's the word I'm looking for.
Phenomenal.
Absolutely. Good for radio, though.